Welcome back to the Dragon Table. Today I'm going to talk about one of my top 10 games, the Castles of Burgundy. I did a full tutorial for this game a few years ago. I'll put the link in the description in case you want to check that out. Otherwise, right now I'll do a quick run through of how it plays, and then I'll come back and tell you why I like it. In Castles of Burgundy, you are a 15th century prince building your estate, which is represented on your player board. The goal is to get the most points, which we keep track of on the board, and you can get points from a number of places, both during the game and in end game scoring. There are 5 phases of the game, A through E, which is represented right here by these little stacks of goods. And in each phase of the game, there are 5 rounds. So every game has a set number of turns. Each player will have 25 turns. At the beginning of every round, every player rolls their dice. And then in turn order, each player uses their dice to take actions. There are 4 different actions that you can take with dice. You can take a tile from the main board and place it in storage on your player board. If this player has a 2 and a 4, it means they could take a tile from either the 2 area or the 4 area. So they could take a tile and put it into storage on their player board. The second action that you can take with dice is to place a tile from storage onto your estate. You have to place it next to an existing tile, and you have to have that number on the die shown. So you would need, this is brown, so it has to go in a brown space, and it would need to be a 3. So let's just pretend that this is, we're gonna make it up as we go along. Pretend that's a 3, and then you can place the building there. So that's the second type of action you can take. The third action you could take would be to sell goods from your player board. You can sell one type of goods that matches a die you have, and that will give you 1 silverling per stack and victory points per tile depending on the number of players. The fourth action you can take with a die is to get more workers. You can use a die to get 2 workers. Workers are fantastic. They let you manipulate dice. They let you add +1 or subtract -1 from your die roll, and you can use that to go all the way around. So you can go from a 1 to a 6 or 6 to 1 all the way around the die. In addition to your actions that you can take with your die, you can also use 2 silverlings to purchase a black tile from the middle. I call them black tiles because the back of all of these are black. There's also a little black dot on each of the tiles on the front so that you can differentiate them from the other tiles on the board when you're separating them out to sort for the game. So what are these different types of tiles and what do they do? Well, there are building tiles. The building tiles are brown, like that one there. And they have all different functions. The different functions are actually described on your player board. The functions of all the tiles are, but you do have to learn the iconography a little bit. For instance, this building is a bank. When you build it, you get 2 silverlings. This building is the watchtower. That would just get you 4 points at the end of the game. This building is a boarding house. That immediately gives you 4 workers. So the buildings do a variety of different things. All of them are immediate benefit except for the watchtower. Another type of tile are the animal tiles. They are this green color area. And they're going to have different types of animals of them and different numbers. When you take an animal tile, like this sheep one, and then you can place it on, when it goes from storage then into your estate, you would score 4 points for the number of sheep, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you later get another sheep tile, then any of the same animal in the same area will score points again. So instead of just scoring 2 points for the second sheep tile, you would score 6 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once you add different animals in, they'll just score for that animal. So that would just be 4 points for those cows. So those score right away. Another type of tile is the mine. Those are the gray tiles. There are only a couple of them on the board. They're a little harder to get. And they would go in the gray spaces on your player board. At the end of every round that you have a mine built, you get a silverling. Another type of tile is the ship. When you place a ship, you can take all of the goods located at one of these spots. So for instance, I could take all of these and then put them on my board. The other thing that happens when you place a ship is you get to move forward in the turn order. That was green player. Here's turn order track. Green would move forward 1 and would become the first player the next turn. There are also castle tiles. Everyone starts with 1 castle tile, and you'll be building your estate out from wherever you put your first castle tile. But you can get more castles. And every time you place a castle, it gives you 1 free action. So it's like you had a third die that was a wild. So you would take your normal action of whatever you do with your 2 dice, one of which presumably would be used to place this castle, and then you would have an extra turn to do whatever you wanted. The other type of tile are knowledge tiles. Every single knowledge tile is different. Some of them give you benefits during the game, and some of them give you end game scoring. This tile here, for instance, gives you 4 points per bank. So since we have a bank here, we could put that knowledge tile in, and at the end of the game, you get at least 4 points, more if you can get more banks. This particular knowledge tile lets you get 2 silverlings every time you sell goods instead of just 1. This knowledge tile lets you get not just 1 silverling from your mine, but also a worker. There are 26 different knowledge tiles in the game, and they're all explained very well in the rulebook, if the iconography isn't clear. Whenever you fill in an area on your estate, you get to score points. It's going to be based on this section here that'll tell you how many points it's worth. For instance, if you fill in this space with 5 different animal tiles, then you would score 15 points plus whatever round you're in. So for the first round, you get 10 bonus points. The second round would be 8. The third round would be 6. The fourth round would be 4. And the final round would only be 2, because by then it's much easier to be filling in areas. So the sooner you can fill in areas, the more points you're going to get. Whoever fills in all of a certain type on their player board, like say all of the fields, or let's say all of the animals, they fill in this animal space and this animal space, and they're the first person to do that, then they will take the bonus tile associated with it. And that will score them points at the end of the game. In a 2-player game, that's worth 5 points. 3-player game, 6 points. 4-player game, it's worth 7 points. So it's nice to get those. The second person to do that would get the smaller bonus tile. At the end of each of the 5 phases, not including the last one, the board is wiped, except for the goods. All of these tiles would go bye-bye and would be replaced with new tiles for the next phase. For end game scoring, you get 1 victory point for each unsold good that you have in your estate. You get 1 victory point per silverling that's left over. You get 1 victory point per every 2 workers. And then you might get points from knowledge tiles. So as I talked about earlier, that would be 4 points there. And that's your general idea of how to play the game. Now, let's talk about why I like it. The 2 key things I enjoy about the game that make it awesome are the dice, being able to roll them and then use them as your action. I love that. I love that idea. I love being able to use the workers then to modify them, to make the dice into what you want them to be. For either taking tiles from the main board or placing them from your storage onto your estate, or for selling goods. I mean, I might be a nerd, but I just absolutely love the dice and manipulating the dice and using them that way. I think it's brilliant. Another thing that's cool is that there are variable player boards. So this player board is version 1, and you can play the game where everyone has the first version of it. But there are also alternate sides. Like this has a completely different setup with the the sections like buildings, ships, animals, spread out in an entirely different way. And this one is another entirely different way. So there's several different player boards, and you can choose whether you want to use those or not. There's a lot of variety in both the buildings and the knowledge tiles, which can make your estate very different than someone else's, and that's fun. Speaking of knowledge tiles, love them. I love how you get special little bonuses either from scoring at the end of the game or a special bonus during the game. The only thing that can be difficult sometimes is getting used to the iconography on them. It's very small, it's very detailed, and it's different for everyone, so keep the rulebook handy. I like that there's end game scoring and not just scoring during the game. It's just something that I, in general, like to have in a game. Personal preference. The game's good length. It's probably about an hour, depending on the number of people that are playing, which is a nice, tidy game. Some people would call this a point salad game because there's so many different places you can get points. From the animals, from the different kinds of buildings, from the knowledge tiles, from selling goods, from the bonus tiles, from at the end of the game, the workers, the silverlings. There are a lot of places to get points. I don't mind a nice point salad. As long as it's done well, and this is done well, then I will take a lovely point salad with some nice cheap croutons all day. Comes with a good rule book. The rule book is good. I know that's shocking to hear, but it actually is. It explains things very well, and then on the side it has like the main descriptions that go in a lot of detail, and on the side it'll hit the high points of what are in that section. So if you've already read through it and you just need to double check on something, sometimes you can just take a quick look at the border to see what you might be looking for in this main section. It's not that long. It probably looks worse than it is, really. A lot of this is just explaining what the specific different tiles do, rather than describing the actions that you take, because that's more simple. So that is why I like the Castles of Burgundy. Thanks for visiting the Dragon Table. I'll see you next time.